Hello, friends from the comic world. My name is Hector,
And my name is G.
and we are here to talk to you about the collected editions that are going on sale September 2024. G and I work for Penguin Random House, and we talk about the titles that we can sell into the direct market around the world in these videos. We do many videos like these every week. You can check us out on YouTube, obviously, but also check us out on social media. We're in Instagram, we're in X, Twitter, and on Facebook. You can find us at PRH International Comics, and we'll leave some links in the description of the video. Also, note there are, sometimes there are delays, production delays, and so there might be a few titles on this list that we talked about before from previous months, but that's just the nature of the business. Um, and I think that's it. That's all we need to say. Oh, let me tell you a little bit how this worked. So G and I picked some titles that we definitely want to highlight that we're really excited about for in this month. We'll talk about those first, and then we'll go over a few more titles that we definitely need to highlight. There are key titles, things we definitely should not miss, and then we'll leave you with the rest of the list. So make sure you watch the whole video till the end so you can get the full list for September 2024. Okay? And without further ado, I think that's it. Let's get started. And first off, it's one of my picks. This is Charles Burns' Final Cut. This is from Pantheon, part of Knopf. And this is Charles Burns, if you don't know, is like a, very big award winning um, creator, writer, illustrator. He has done so many big works, and he won the Eisner Award and other awards for his work Black Hole a few years back. I think it was 2000. I forget. I'm not gonna risk saying it and it's wrong, but he won the awards and it's been really big. It is also collected on an edition done by Pantheon, so you can also get it from us. This one, Final Cut, it was interesting. I was researching it. This he wrote, and they came out as separate volumes back. It's starting back. I'm looking for the year. Sorry, back in 2019. The original apparently wasn't done in English. It was done in French. It has been translated in many other languages, in German and other languages, but this is the first time that it's going to be English. That could be wrong, but that's the information I got from my research. And like I said, it was volume one, volume two, volume three. They were smaller, you know, 70, 75 page volumes. Now they're collected here with 224 pages. The title also, if you don't remember the title from Charles Verne Final Cut, is because originally it was Daedalus or Daedalus, um, and it was now for the English version changed to Final Cut. Now, what is the story? Um, this is there's a group of there's a this main character Brian who has a child with his friend Jimmy. They used to do home sci-fi movies in their yard. They would just with their Super 8 cameras just like do uh very crude kids movies, and they would like depict like action and would use lipstick as blood for for the bloody scenes and all that, and they were always into that. Now they're teenagers, and Jimmy is more of an aspiring filmmaker and wanted to go to college, so he goes with his friend Brian, sorry, with his friend Jimmy's friend Tina, and Lori, who is the love of Brian's life and sort of his muse. And they go and in a remote cabin in the woods. Of course, something's happening there. And they try to do sort of a homage to Brian's favorite movie, which is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm not going to go deeper into the story. It develops into a sci fi, obviously, cabin in the woods. It's playing at sci-fi and horror. Some sci-fi horror things happen, and in between that, there's also, you get their background and their stories, and there's the whole obsession that Brian has with Lori in play too. The art is extremely beautiful. If you look at it, I mean, you can see by the cover here, but Charles Burns' art has always been, um, the critics have always said it's extremely beautiful. The inking is very, very clean, very, very great. So it's highly recommended. This is something that not just fans of who knows who Charles Burns is, but new fans can find it and really get into it. And if you like, very deep, uh, drama centric sci-fi horror stories, this is definitely for you. Okay, so let's get to the next one.
All right, next up we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath. And this is nominated for Best New Series for the Eisner nominations, which we'll have the results of next week since San Diego Comic-Con is happening. But this is a great story on its own, very unique, and it gained so much attention when this came out. So you don't want to miss on the trade paperback here. So this one, basically, there's this cardinal rule in a small town, and that rule is don't murder, which seems quite obvious. Like it should be like
Yeah.
any town. But this town in particular, because it's like full filled with, well, we have this main character who's this cutesy bear. Her name is Samantha Strong, but she's a serial killer. But this is her town, and nothing like this happens in her town. Like,
Yeah.
they worked hard to make this a safe space, and there are other people to kill outside the town limits. So why hunt the townspeople here? But of course, a mysterious murder happens, and that is a big no-no. And so Samantha finds it her duty to basically seek out who that killer is, because she really wants to retain that peace and the cozy lifestyle that she's been living with other like animal folk townspeople in the community. And plus, she needs to get rid of her serial killer rival as well. So really cool premise. Love the gore with like this very Richard Scary, like children's
Yeah.
book looking
Yeah. Look. Yeah.
illustrations, but it's more nefarious underneath. So yes.
Yeah. Very, very cool. I want to mention also, because you mentioned next week with the Eisner Awards. We're actually recording this ahead of time, and
Yes.
this video will be posting it after San Diego Comic Con.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
we don't know who's gonna win, but Beneath the Trees is one of the nominated, the things that are
Mhm.
nominated. But I mentioned that because there'll be other things like that, like this, which I was gonna mention. Nick's Gallery Edition that is coming up also in September. Uh, and I was going to mention, just in time because we have Wolverine and Deadpool. By the time you watch this video, it's already going to be out. But yeah, so here it is, Nick's Gallery Edition. Oh, and I was going to mention also just in time because the new series Nick's from Marvel, the single issues #1 is coming out on July 24th, around the time that we're going to post this video. So, but this is the original. This is the one that started with the original Knicks that Joe Quesada uh, did with artists with Seb Wells and Joshua Militant and art and so many others that introduced obviously Laura, who you see here, X-23, who is, became obviously Wolverine. Um, but it also includes in this collection the I forget. Oh, No Way Home. And next, No Way Home. That series that was written by Marjorie Liu, and artist was Coleman Adarowski and some other ones. Um, this is already a classic story. This already in this collection came out in trade paperback a few years back. Sorry, I'm getting my years here. 2000. Well, the last time it came out in trade paperback as a collection was in 2016, but it has been out of print for a while. Now we're getting a gallery edition, which is amazing. It's a great book to have as a gallery edition. If you don't know, gallery editions are a bigger trim even than the omnibus. They're about, I believe it's like 13 by 13 by 16, which is about 22 to 30, 22 by 32 in centimeters, something like that. So you get the same book in the same collection that we had in trade paperback, but as a bigger trim. So it's a very much nicer. It's like watching a movie in an IMAX, right? And the price for this, I think, it's extremely good because the trade paperback edition that came out years ago was $35. This is only $50. I think the trade-off for something bigger like this and nicer for $50 is amazing. It's really good for you getting your money's worth on this. Um, just you should know if you don't know, the story is about um, mutant kids in New York City, sort of being abandoned, kind of surviving in the city as the X-Men are fighting villains and trying to create a nation and do their own thing. It's the story of the ones that are sort of pushed away by society in New York City, and we got a lot of very interesting characters in this. But obviously, the biggest one in issue 3 was the introduction of X-23, and Laura, who became Wolverine. So this is, like I said, this is a classic story already. It's a classic comic and a comic arc. Obviously, parental advisory on there, not for kids. It's kind of gritty and bloody. So it's very cool. I'm really excited about this coming to the gallery edition. I love the gallery editions, by the way. I hope they do a whole lot more gallery editions. So let's get going. Next one.
Next up, we have Taxi Ghosts. We will have the hardcover and the trade paperback for this. So we have the main character, Adele, who wants to spend her winter break like cozied up in a library, trying to forget about the fact that all her friends are going away for the winter in like warmer climates and she has to deal with the cold. So she's trying to ignore that fact. But something happens to her which is very unfortunate that she gets her period and she's like, oh no. But also, she also figures out that she's like in a long line of mediums. So basically, she can see these like ghosts. There's just something about reaching that puberty stage that like has now given her this ability to see these ghosts. And what she also learned is that she can interact with them, and apparently they've been using her sister's car to get around the city. Hence, you see them in the car, and the ghost won't leave her alone. And she's, because of that, she starts to know a little bit more about them and their problems, and she's trying to figure out a way to help them because they're stuck for a reason. And so it's like a really cool, brilliant graphic novel that basically explores growing up and the importance of like standing up for what you believe in. And there's a cool cat
Yeah.
as well.
That looks very cool. All right. Next up is The Strange Tales of Oscar Zan, Volume 1, a graphic novel by Tri Vuong. This is another 10 Speed is also doing this other conversion to print of a webtoon, one of the big webtoons out there. They already did Lore Olympus. There also a couple of volumes of Nothing Special, and now it's the chance for Strange Tales of Oscar Zan, which I didn't know about until I saw it on the list and I started looking at it and I read some of the episodes and it's amazing. It's so good. I'm such a big fan now. I become such a big fan. This collects episodes 1 to 65. So obviously there'll be a lot more volumes coming after this. And as you can see, I don't know if you can tell very well by this image, but Oscar Zan is a detective, sort of like a Sherlock Holmes type. So he's also British, but it's basically a skull floating on top of a body with, with a trench coat. Uh, and he investigates all these very weird cases. It's reminiscent BPRD. Also his art is very similar to Mike Mignola's, and the sort of the mystery, the supernatural part of it, plus the humor in it reminds me a lot of Mike Mignola, but also it's a little bit like Constantine from DC, and what he does, and although he's a little bit more educated and nicer and more likable. um, and it's, there are many stories. I love the start of this. It just starts with him showing up, this old lady in the forest just writing his name. He shows up and he's like, okay, where is he? Oh, he's in this house. And he goes into this old house and gets immediately locked in and has to find something that he has to take care of. So it's that kind of thing. And like, it's a very, like I said, he's sort of I don't want to say Sherlock Holmes. It's more like a very, very dry humor, kind of very proper persona, solving all these mysteries with, sort of very, very light humor in it. Um, and the imagery for this, like I said, the art is so cool and beautiful. And like you see here on the cover, is sort of there is very mysterious. It has a lot of shadows and stuff in it, but it's also very beautiful. Um, and it also has a very heartwarming story in the middle of all this. I highly recommend this. I do recommend that you go and read some of the episodes, but it's something that you're gonna love. I was reading through as I was doing research, interviews and things that Trevon made. By the way, he lives in Canada. He's from Toronto. He he mentioned that this is just long time coming, because when he thought about the story and started the story, he wanted it to be print, but he started it as a webtoon, which is great, and he's still doing it. But he always thought about it as a paper, print kind of comic. And you can tell as you're scrolling through it that the transition must have been very easy and very good, but it's also um, so you can either like it you can watch it, read it at both ways, sort of like the flow of digital, but you also now you're gonna have the print, so you can like put it in your hands and really delve deep into the art and the story, which is great. Sorry, I'm just so in awe with this book because as soon as I discovered it, I became a big fan, and I'm sure I'm gonna read all the webtoon episodes, and then I'm gonna pick this up and read it all over again. So there you go. Next.
All right, next up we have Undergrowth by Ricky Lima, and this one, the world has been ravaged by these like terrifying robotic monsters, and there's this one night where these four friends meet up together to watch a meteor shower, and then something horrific happens. When I read it, it like sh really shocked me. Even though it's in the premise. Like, I'm not spoiling
Yeah.
anything in here. And I knew going in, I was like, wow, they really went for it, right? But then what's interesting here, unfortunate doom, but it happens where they get returned to life by this like mysterious natural power, and these young adults are now chosen to like become a weapon in a way where and they become a weapon that may turn the tide of the world at large because it's being invaded by monsters. You can think of like these children becoming like part of these like natural mecha entity weapons, like, and they're like part of the natural world and they're fighting against robotics and the monstrous like robots that like represent industry, which is quite interesting. That's like has an undertone of like planetary crisis, mental health, but like giant robots mixed in between it. And like them reckoning with the trauma of their own deaths that happen really early on and having this power that they're wielding being weapons and what that means, right? Because they're basically living weapons of mass destruction, which is like a huge power to withhold when they're so young. And so really interesting. It's a question of
Yeah.
whether or not they can pull it off and actually defeat the invaders that are wreaking havoc on their planet. Such an interesting premise. Beautiful art as well. This will come out in trade paperback in September.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mhm.
And now we're going to go into highlighting some of the other titles that are coming out in September. We're going to get started with Agatha Harkness, The Saga of the Salem Witch by Stan Lee. And just in time for, the trailer for Agatha, the show has just come, Agatha All Along just came out. Batman, Dylan Dug by Roberto Recchioni. And this is collecting that miniseries that came out, I believe, last year or started last year. Also, another miniseries, Batman: City of Madness by Christian Ward. We get the trade here. We also gonna get in September Creepy Archives Volume 8 by T. Casey Brennan, Don McGregor, Steve Skates, and others. And then we have Dex Dingo, World Best Greatest Ever. Wait, World's Best Greatest Ever Inventor by Greg Foley, and it sounds like it's extremely fun uh, book to have for kids. Next.
Next, the big omnibus that everyone's been talking about. This is DC versus Marvel Omnibus by Dennis O'Neil. So we have the main cover and then the direct market edition. But then we also have the DC versus Marvel, the Amalgam Age Omnibus by Peter David. Again, we'll have the main cover as a mark, the direct market edition. As a note, this will be first printing only from what we hear. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure you pick up on this before it runs out because you're out of luck at that point.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you get in on the hype and you never know when the when this could, it
Yeah.
just yeah, you just yeah,
Yeah. I have some of the
there
trades, and they came out like literally so many years ago. It's the
yeah.
last time we've seen something like this. So, and that's the first time we see something like this.
Yeah,
So, I
exactly.
sure we're not going to see it for a while after.
Yeah.
Very cool. We continue with the EC Archives Tales from the Crypt, Volume 4, and then we get to Eerie Archives, Volume 7, obviously by various artists, both of them. Then we have Ghost Rider, Danny Keith Ketch, Omnibus Volume 1 by Howard Mackey, and we have a regular trade edition cover, and then we have a direct market only cover. And then we have Godzilla, for Humanity by Andrew McLean and Jake Smith.
All right, continuing on. If you find this, I'm Already Dead. This is written by Matt Kent, illustrated by Dan McDade. We have Joker the World by various creators on this. Micronauts, the original Marvel Years Omnibus Volume 2 by Mil Onslow.
Sure.
Sorry,
Sorry.
apologies. Just so that you know, we have the main cover and then the direct markets cover as well, both of them. So various ones that you could choose from.
Yeah. And Volume 1 did so well. A lot of people jumped on it. I'm sure they're going to want to get this one too.
Mhm.
And we continue with Volume 5 of Nightwing, Time of Titans by Tom Taylor. And then we go on to Pathways, Chronicles of Tuvana, Volume 1 by Elaine Tipping. And Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin, Silent but Deadly Edition. I love that. Written and illustrated by Jeff Darrow. And then we have a new deluxe remaster edition of Sleeping Beauties by Owen King, Stephen King, Rio Yours, and Allison Sampson. And we continue with Spider-Man, Deadpool, Modern Era Epic Collection, Till Death Do Us by Joshua Corin.
All right, Spinal Cord by David Branana. Brana? I am so sorry,
Yeah, you can't
everyone.
say the Enya. That's fine.
I like
Branya.
try to fix it and it was worse.
I'll try to teach you how to say Enya after this.
Yeah, okay. I'll have a lesson after this. Star Trek Volume 1, Godshock, Colin Kelly, Jackson, Lindsay, and the list continues on these creators. My self-confidence has now dipped. Star Wars, Thrawn Alliances, Timothy Zahn, of course. And then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Compendium Volume 3. This is Kevin Eastman, Peter Lard, Jim Lawson. And then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Amazing Adventures Omnibus by Laundry Walker, Matthew Manning, Chad Thomas.
Nice. And then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures Volume 3 by Eric Berman, Sarah Meyer, and Dan Shonin. And then we have Venom, the saga of Eddie Brock, David Michelini. And then we have a very cool one. I love this book. We Three, the 20th anniversary. Oh, 20 years already. I can't believe it. 20th anniversary deluxe edition, new edition by Grant Morrison. And we have a regular trade cover, and we also have a deluxe direct market exclusive edition. And that is it for the highlights. But we will leave you with the rest of the list for the month of September. We thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope you come back and watch some more. Feel free to comment, like, do all the fun stuff, subscribe. And like I mentioned before, we are on other social media channels other than YouTube. We are also on Instagram. We are on X, Twitter, and Facebook under at PRH International Comics. So we're going to turn off the cameras, but don't go away. So thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Bye.
Bye.